Visited UW Green Bay today, and the visit part of his tour of the state to discuss his investments in the universities of Wisconsin as part of his biennial budget. The governor visited multiple buildings to highlight campus projects, including renovations and updates to the Crest Event Center, instructional services, environmental science, and laboratory science buildings. The governor says some of the buildings need help and some will need to be replaced down the line if they're not repaired soon.